Welcome back to the special edition of Hannity, featuring a special focus group of bipartisan Americans. Time to go back to D.C. and check in with Frank Luntz. Was a very important question for the voters.
In conversations about budgets, very often national security is not discussed. But we've been asking Americans like you, do you feel safer or less safe now than you did 10 years ago? So why don't you answer that question for me as a way to begin this conversation. How many of you feel safer today than you did back 10 years ago? Raise your hands. 2, 4, 5, 6, maybe 8 of you. Who feels less safe? Okay, tell me why.
Leadership, because who's in charge, whether it's Republican, Democrat, they're very hard to trust. A lot of mistrust. So even the question of, enough spending, well, it's hard to trust that they're going to spend it properly. So I don't know, spend more, spend less. I don't trust the people who are in charge.
Do you feel safer or less safe?
Less safe.
Why?
For similar reasons. I just don't believe that they've kept their eye on what the strategic interests of the country are, what is important, the countries that are threats to us today. It hasn't gotten less. The respect of the countries around us that are our allies and our enemies has reduced. Our allies cannot depend upon us, I think, and our enemies are not afraid of us.
You agree with that?
Less safe. They're chopping the budget. We can't do as much. We can't protect ourselves on as many fronts. They're eviscerating the military.
We're just living in a different time, and the enemy is gaining huge technological advancements.
Who's the enemy?
Well, I mean, our enemies.
Who?
Are the terrorists. I mean,
the terrorists. That's kind of a general thing.
Well, I'm specifically talking about the Islamic regime. That's in
That's
my
part of the issue. It's hard to know who the enemy is.
Yes, but a lot of it is that's where it's coming from.
I mean, in Syria, so if we support the rebels, we're supporting Al-Qaeda. It's part of the rebels against the Syrian government are, I've heard, 60%. I mean, it's hard to get good information.
It is true.
It's hard to know who the enemy is.
It's difficult to know who the enemy is. The reason why I don't feel less safe than I did before is because I think less was discussed, less was talked about. This issue of terrorism, and that has been with us even before the 70s. I don't think the situation has changed that much. And our spending in military is so much more than anywhere else in the world that I'm not correct.
I think the real issue is that with our elected officials, it's more of not only trust, but of their own special interests. They can't make rational decisions. They don't make realistic decisions. And it's not only just based on the budget, but what is best for the country.
Who's they?
Elected officials, members of Congress.
Do you blame Congress for this?
Yes, I do.
But the president's the commander-in-chief.
Yeah, the president is the commander-in-chief.
So why do you blame Congress?
Well, I didn't vote for him, so I guess I should put him in that spiel as well. But I look more specifically at the elected officials because they have the power to make the decisions that really impact upon us, and they're not doing that.
Go ahead.
But somebody before said our enemy now are the terrorists, and we need more high-tech stuff to go after them, to monitor them. It's a different type of war, and every time we have a budget, they have a peace dividend. They always cut the military. They never raise it back up.
So you're nervous that they're not spending enough?
I believe they need to spend more money in the military.
Who thinks?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's not the idea of how much they're spending, it's how they're appropriating the funds and where it's going.
You guys agree with that?
Yes.
Is this government today investing in sufficient technology? You're nodding your head no.
You need to put 500,000 people in Afghanistan instead of 35,000 well-trained troops? I think you can think you can be more effective doing it that way.
Go ahead.
I see way too much we're still using World War II era base mentality where we put ourselves. We're not taking advantage of the full.
Wait, Jason, go ahead.
The technology is the lie. The technology does not protect you. It's the manpower, and the money that's being spent in the Department of Defense is going to worthless weapon systems like the V-22 Osprey and other crap that congressmen keep getting checks to support.
We have the technology, but they're also using it against us. NSA, there was no denial about what Snowden said. They didn't deny what he said. They're using it against Americans.
Go ahead, in the back.
Politicians know what to do.
Well, see,
I think we've been more politicized since 9/11.
But see, I don't think it's.
Hold on, go ahead.
They don't know what to do. They're fighting against each other rather than pulling together as Americans.
So my question to you is Congress making the right investments to provide you? Why not?
Because they don't know how to make rational decisions.
Because
no, they don't.
they're professional politicians.
Because they keep spending.
They don't know how to make rational decisions. We have all this money. We have a budget. Why are we at a deficit? I don't understand
Where
that.
people are supporting the politicians instead of spending money where it can be effective.
It all starts from the top.
Yes.
I'm so tired of walking backwards, trying to follow this president, and I can only imagine how the military must feel. There's a reason why leaders lead from the front. It's so we all know where we're going. If we don't know where we're going, how in the hell are we going to get there?
I hope that the people in Washington are listening, because we certainly cannot afford to make any mistakes. If something goes wrong in national security, it's not a Republican tragedy or a Democratic tragedy. It's an American tragedy. This debate over national security is going to be waged in the months to follow, and let us hope that they have the good common sense of good Americans.
And when we come back, the group turns its attention to another critical and controversial national security issue, that being immigration reform, as Hannity continues. One issue that has not gotten a lot of media attention recently is immigration, but just because the debate has been pushed out of the headlines does not mean it's going away. We check back in with Frank Luntz and his focus group of American voters.
There isn't a more contentious debate in America today than the debate over immigration. The battle between those who want small reforms, those who want a significant overhaul, and some who don't want any change at all. It's a very tough conversation, and people's tempers are flaring all across the country. I want to begin with an ad, and I want you all to dial test it. So grab your dials, and you're going to react second to second. Then I'm going to ask you whether this ad truly connects to you in the discussion about immigration. Let's take a look.
A porous border threatening our security, while millions live in de facto amnesty because Washington does nothing. Our borders and workers aren't fully protected, and America is losing the global race for talent. Our immigration system is broken, and doing nothing isn't working. Congress must act now to build an immigration system that benefits America. Because if they won't act, guess who's the only one who gets to decide?
Raise your hands if you thought that ad was effective. Okay, so most of you, and by the way, most people don't agree on anything. Why was that ad so effective?
Because it didn't point fingers at anyone. It wasn't very partisan. It was a general concept of we have this problem that we need to deal with. And as a country, we need to come together, look at our leaders in Congress to solve this problem.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What's wrong with pointing fingers? What's wrong with holding people accountable?
Because whenever you do that, people get into that defensive measure and saying, oh, it's not my fault, and want to fight, fight, fight. Rather, it's more of an easier way to present a problem.
Go ahead.
We should point fingers. I mean, obviously, there's a problem that needs to be fixed.
I think we're past pointing fingers, and we should just be looking for solutions.
That's why that ad was effective. It went to that very issue. It went to that very issue. It said, we're trying to fix this issue. We're not trying to put blame on it. Everybody knows the situation here. It's not a big surprise.
We point fingers on everything, and not get anywhere.
And they're using the word illegal like it's a cuss word these days. Yeah. It's got to stop.
No, I think we need to use the word illegal because these people are illegal.
I agree.
No, I believe they're illegal, but they're saying that you shouldn't even use it.
Illegal, and we are not going to handle this problem by soft stepping this issue. These people need to get to the back of the line. They need to speak English, and they need to do the things that are necessary.
The personal opinion, they don't need to get online at all. I grant you can't have to ask anywhere from 12 to 20 million people to leave. Give them some kind of legal status. Citizenship? Never.
There's a law on the books, and that law is that employers have to check. If you actually arrested an employer who's hiring illegals, you'd have an answer.
There's two separate issues. And until we fix the first issue, which is securing the border, there's no sense in going to the second issue.
It's not securing the border. Most of the illegal immigrants just simply overstay their visas, and we never track them down, or we arrest them and say, come back to court in 6 months, and they don't show up, and nobody goes after them. So if you don't have an enforcement regime, there's no deterrence.
Well, they're here now because they got through the border.
No deterrence.
They didn't come through the border. Like I said, they came on visas. They came here legally and overstayed. What about those people?
About the word illegal. You can't go to any other country and stay there and you don't have citizenship status. That's one reason why we're over budget. We have a lot of problems, and these people do not bring any economic incentive or whatever. We need to start taking care of Americans. Americans need jobs, and we need to start hiring Americans.
So are you going to deport them?
I think they should be. I'm telling you.
You're going to deport them?
Yes, they should be.
Does this woman sound compassionate to you? Why did you get so angry?
No, because see, it's not being angry. It's a sense of using our common sense. I mean, I go across the country, and I'm sick and tired of Americans talking about taking care of everybody else but Americans. We pay the tax bill. No. We pay the tax bill, but we get very little benefits.
It's back to leadership.
That's right.
It's back to leadership. These people are just trying to survive, a lot of them, and it's the leadership that did the policy that allowed them in. These people are just, many of them, are trying to help their families.
I am absolutely appalled that we're sitting here talking about these numbers like they're not human beings who are in this country and part of our society.
So tell her. Tell her.
Okay, they are human beings, but see, I can't wrap my arms around the fact that when someone is here illegal, that is a crime. I mean, come on. These people came here illegal ahead of other folks who are in line.
I do illegal things every day. I sped on my way here. That's a crime, too.
Wait. I want everyone to notice that Holly does illegal things every day. What other illegal things?
Will this be on TV? And also, you know, there's the issue of the children of these people. I mean, these people have families, and they're escaping really horrific situations. There are Americans who are milking the system worse than some of our illegal immigrants are, who just want a better life.
Okay, but we can't be responsible for what's happening in their country. You know, quite frankly, some of these people need to, every tub stands on its own.
But what does the Statue of Liberty represent?
If they are here legally, I don't have a problem with that. It's the fact that they're here illegally.
My grandparents came here to get away from discrimination in Europe, but they came here legally. They went through the system, they came over, they got a job, they learned English so that their children, my parents, could be good Americans, and now I'm an American.
There's more to it than that. If the standards of getting into this country was consistent, no matter what country you came from, I can buy that. Right. How is it that some people get into this country easier? The time period, the waiting time period is shorter for some countries than others.
How does it make you feel?
Also,
when you hear this conversation, how does this make you feel?
It's horrifying to me that people would behave like and just treat other human beings like this. This is far more complicated, and getting immigration status in the United States is very, very difficult, and it costs a lot of money, absolutely, to do it. And the questions on the citizenship test are very
Okay. We're not going to solve it here.
Right.
But you have just proven my points that Holly breaks the law, and that immigration is probably the most contentious issue. Yeah. And we're going to be debating it over the coming weeks and months, and all we're going to ask for is one thing: civility, as we debate this issue and others. Back to you.
And that is all the time we have left this evening. As always, thank you for being with us, and I hope you have a great weekend.